everyone, and it's Sunday again. So we're drawing the same picture, here's the same tracing, and we're using Daler-Rowney cartridge paper and Faber Castell coloured pencils. And these are the coloured pencils. This is a professional set, so they're quite expensive, but I had to show you because they are just such luscious colours and I just love them. There's 3 tiers of pencils in this box, and I think this box, I bought it quite a few years ago, it cost about £130 then, so I'm not sure whether they've gone up or not now, but not a cheap option. So if you're starting out, you don't want a set like this. You just want an ordinary set, which you can probably get for about under £10. Now I've used the same tracing again. Normally if I was drawing a colour pencil sketch or drawing, I would not use a pencil tracing because some of the graphite actually mixes in with the pencils when you come to colour in and gives it a kind of greyish tint. So I would outline normally in a pale coloured pencil. So yes, I'm putting blue under his hair again, and just like with watercolours and with pencils, it's a layering technique. So now I'm adding brown on top of the blue because black is a colour that's made up of lots of different colours, and even with coloured pencil some of the lower layers do shine through. Although I don't think you're always aware of that. And I will be adding a couple more layers of black. Here is the first layer of black. Each time you add a layer, you darken the whole thing. So it does start off quite pale, but it is a much more subtle effect than watercolour. And each time you add a layer, then the pencil strokes themselves tend to disappear a little. Now I'm just adding a whole coat of the very pale beige, this sort of skin colour to the whole drawing, and then darkening the ears a little. And then I would just build up layers where the shadows are, and it will gradually get darker and darker. With this technique, you do want to erase where you have marked where the shadows are going to go. Before you actually get to the end, you do need to erase those marks so that you can blend the whole thing in more. And you can erase coloured pencil with a normal eraser. It does erase quite well, even though you'd think maybe it wouldn't. Doing his eyebrows now. And as I'm doing them, I can actually see my dad. But I can also see my son as an adult. It's always pleasing when you can see a family likeness in the portrait that you do. And the whites of his eyes, they look really blue at the moment, but once I've put the irises in, that will kind of fade. But children do tend to have a more turquoisey blue kind of whites to their eyes, which disappears as you get older. And as always, I love doing the eyes. Now, the mistake that I kept making on all the others, I am trying very hard to think about with this portrait, so that I think I managed to make the right eye as you look at it better, to better shape. But what I have noticed on this drawing, and I only noticed it now when I'm reviewing it, is that as you look at the picture, the right hand nostril is a little bit high. So if I was doing this as a finished drawing, I would go back and erase all that and start again, because I can't bear it when things aren't right. But that's what sketches are for. Now coming in for the mouth. It might look a bit weird at the moment, but it's because he has a shadow underneath the mouth, which when the mouth is darker, it will kind of blend in and you won't notice it so much. But at the moment, it does look a little bit weird. And again, the teeth, remember, they're not white, because if they were white, they would actually come forward. Lighter things come to the front and darker things move backwards. Just coming back to the shadows again and again. As I've said all along, you do one thing and then you think, right, now that's got to be darker. Whereas if you've done it dark in the first place, it often looks really wrong. Now coming in again and darkening his hair yet again. We'll also start adding some stray hairs to make it look kind of more realistic. Because the hairline, or the outline of the hair that you see, is never just perfectly a perfect line. It's kind of fuzzy. So you want to get that in to make it look more realistic. Now, if I was doing this as a finished portrait rather than a sketch, I would spend much longer on making these layers much finer, so that you couldn't see the pencil marks, and so they would be very pale and there would be more of them. But I was very much aware that this would take me all day if I was to do it like a finished portrait, so I had to be quicker. It took me about 4.5 hours to do this portrait, this sketch, and that is kind of non-stop. And I was always starting from the top and working down. So now I'm coming in and just beginning to draw in the stripes on his dungarees, the bit I enjoy. No pressure on that. Just follow the lines. More work, I think, though, than with the watercolour. And you can just see on the left-hand sleeve, as you look at it, that I have outlined all the little illustrations on his shirt sleeve with the colours that I will be filling it in with. That's just to remind me when I come to fill it in what colours they need to be. Moving down to the bib. And again, I have put a piece of paper there just to protect the drawing. Coloured pencil doesn't smudge as much as graphite pencil, however it does smudge a little, so you do have to still be careful. And of course you can use the smudging to blend it. I have a blending pencil which will actually blend all the layers together. I haven't used it on this, but I could have done, particularly with the skin. Now coming into the little illustrations on his sleeve. As I said, I found it quite helpful, the fact that I had outlined them in the colour that they will need to be coloured in with. And going back to them and refining them again. And then beginning to add some shadows on the shirt. The shadows give you the folds of the fabric and just make it far more realistic looking. And again, you'll start light with these shadows and then maybe bring in some blues and some greys, and I think I use some purples as well, just to make those shadows kind of give the illusion of the folds in the fabric. And the same on his dungarees. For next week's drawing, I'd always planned that I would do the same drawing again, but this time in pastels, which is another medium that I use quite regularly. So I've decided I will definitely do that. I hope you're not getting fed up with this drawing. And then I suddenly had this idea. I've never tried acrylics. I have acrylics in my arts chest, but I have never tried them. So the week after next, I will do this same image in acrylics, which is kind of scary for me, never having done it before. And then if that isn't too much of a disaster, the following week, so that's like in 3 weeks' time, I will have a go with the same picture in oils, which, as I said before, I haven't done anything in oils since I was a kid. So that will be really interesting, and I'm not sure how I'll get on with that. but we'll see. And it means that I have outlined the next few weeks of what I'm going to do. And I think at the end it would be an interesting exercise to show the differences between how each of the portraits has turned out, so you can compare all of them together in each of the 7 different media that I will have covered during this experiment. So that will mean definitely moving out of my comfort zone, which is what I'm always telling my students to do, and also fulfilling 2 of my New Year's resolutions. So can't be bad. Anyway, we're coming to an end of this video for this week, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, as always, please hit the like button and feel free to share, and also to subscribe to my channel to see more. I will put a list down below of all the materials that I've used in this week's video. Stay safe, stay well, see you next week. Bye!